Well, hello guys and gals, and welcome back to another Star vs. the Forces of Evil review. In this episode, we're taking a look at Season 4, Episode 1 and 2. We have a lot of episode to cover, and not much time to do it. But before we get into it, I might as well say, I have not been looking forward to these. I at least saw 2 previews leading into these episodes, and they really didn't look like anything special. So I have not been looking forward to this, especially with the whole, this is the final season. I saw the writing on the wall around the time the last season ended. But no, it was sometime between then and it was announced that this was the final season. That I was like, yeah, I think I mentioned it in the Steven Universe Endgame, where I was like, this show is also reaching its end game soon. And yeah, that's where we're at. It's an interesting position to be in. But yeah, I mean, after watching the episode, I'm admittedly more excited than when I went in. But, well, we'll see. So the first episode is Butterfly Folly. And it starts off with them storming the tower. And they're going through, they're looking for Star's mom, and everyone kind of hates Star because at the end of the last episode, she gave the wand to Eclipsa, so now there's all these, like, equal human and monster things, and there's a lot of racism going about. We'll comment on it here in a minute. But we see a map of everywhere they've checked, and they have checked everywhere. Yeah, they're being pretty thorough. There was one idea I had that I'll bring up here in a few minutes, I guess, where I was like, okay, this is what's going to happen, and then it just never happened. Eventually, though, a monster comes by, and he's got a shirt for the Pie Carnival, and on it has a picture of Queen Moon, so they're like, oh, the Pie Carnival, that's gotta be it. So they head to the Pie Carnival, and Richard is freaking out, or River, I mean, because he doesn't trust the Pie Folk. The Pie Folk are evil, they're thieves. $350 for a pie, which, whether it's $650, whether it's $650 or it's $650, they never give that answer. It's kind of weird. And then there's also this wonder of, is Mumin money different than Earth money? I know there is some sort of conversion, because again, Marco gets, wasn't it $550 a month? Wasn't that established in a previous episode? But they go to find Queen Moon, they can't find her, she's not at, they think she's here at this, like, throne. It's not there. There's this entire merchandise shop, which is just, yeah, that's kind of creepy. But you see the reason they're all idolizing Queen Moon, because they go to this play, I guess, where they have Richard, who's being the clown. And because Richard, or I keep calling him Richard after King Richard, right? The King Richard II and King Richard III from the Shakespeare plays. And the actual history, but who cares about that shit? And he's being the clown, he's being a buffoon, and then you have Star, who everyone hates, because now that she's given the wand to Eclipsa, they all have to treat monsters equally, and they all find her stupid because of that. Well, yeah, let's go racism. That's the easiest way to put it. They're expressing it onto Star because she's the one who's willing to live with monsters and humans together, and they hate it, so they're reflecting that onto Star. It's done well enough, I'll admit. But then Queen Moon comes out because Queen Moon is our symbol of, like, a better time for these people. That, oh, humans and monsters live separately under Queen Moon, so now they're going to idolize her. It's an interesting way to take it and how people, like, would probably act. But they kidnap her because it's like, at first it's like, oh, Moon doesn't remember. But then they take her away, they run away, and they find out it's an actress. And this little exchange between him and Marco is, I want to say Eric was his name, is adorable. And how they do the makeup and all that, that's a great little exchange. Until, Star goes Greek god on him and turns him into a frog squirrel. That is some Greek level punishment right there. That's pretty fucking dark when you think about it. But they don't know where to go from here, and Marco eventually convinces Star to let's go home. So they head to the new monster capital of Muni, And hey, Eclipsa, and guess what? They don't hate Eclipsa. All that weird bullshit at the end of the last season. Nope, we're just throwing it out the window. Giving Eclipsa the wand is definitely not a bad thing. Again, she's created this new monster human capital. And while not everyone's happy about it, it doesn't seem to be that bad. So, I'm glad they the tone that ended off the last season isn't sticking. That, hey, yeah, things are good. They're living in the new monster capital. Eclipsa still seemingly considers them family, even if there is no blood. It's all well done. I like how they handle the monster capital. We see that they're chipping out Glubgore. And we also see Meteora, and there's this big worry about, does she remember? That's funny. Eclipsa is still great. I'm so glad she's not a villain. I'm so glad. But Star's still hung up on it. She uses the spying spell. And this is I think this was the second time in the episode we saw the castle. So my thought was, they've checked everywheres. What if she's just back in the castle with no memory? It's the Occam's Razor. It's the most obvious place. That was the first place they checked, and they haven't checked it since. Plus, wasn't there all of those, secret crevices in the castle as well? That's where I was expecting them to go with it, but nope, instead we go back to the Pie Folk. Star talks to Glossric to ask where Moon is, and he basically says that, hey, going to the realm of magic is a mistake, and maybe even defeating Toffee by doing so was also a mistake. And that sort of J.R. Tolkien, the end of the age of magic, beginning of the age of man sort of thing. Which, God, I still wish they had killed off Glossric. I still hate him. Oh my God, do I hate him. Marco and Eclipsa talking, they're like, someone needs to have the talk with Star about her mom. So Marco goes to have the talk. And it carries all the weight it has to, because Marco's trying to give it, but he's also trying to be sensitive. And then Star pulls out the beach day photo. And her reasoning is, if she's happy in this photo, that means her mother must not be dead, because for her to be happy, her mother would still have to be alive. And this is a photo that was given to her from Father Time in the future. I do not remember her getting this photo. I don't remember when this happened. I know, because Father Time's the guy on the hamster wheel, right? I don't remember him ever giving her the photo. That must have been something in maybe season 2. But the reason I still like the scene is because even if I don't remember where the picture came from, I like how she's explaining the picture. Usually I hate time travel shit like this, but explaining that, because they're not doing the Back to the Future thing where the picture changes. But for her to be happy, this has to be happening. And so this is her reminder that days will always be better, right? That the future will still be good, because if she was happy in this picture, it holds the sentiment it needs to. I think this is a really well done scene. And that's where, when I started off this episode, I was not looking forward to it. This was the scene where I was like, yeah, this is good. This is a good episode. And then Marco bought a pie earlier, and we see him pull it out to eat it. And I noticed, I was like, oh my God, it has the little butterfly on it. Because they've referenced that in a previous episode. I swear they have. Either that, or I know they reference it in the Book of Spells. So it's been referenced at some point. And then I noticed it was a butterfly, and then Star notices it was a butterfly. So yeah, that's a neat little thing. If I had one complaint here, I'll bring this back up in the next episode, Escape from the Pie Folk. But I wish Marco hadn't taken a bite out of the pie yet. I wish they had saved that for the next episode. And I'll explain when we get there, because I think it would have made the episode more coherent. Or even if Marco took the bite, Marco could still take the bite out of the pie. It could still work in the next episode, and I'll explain. And that's the end of the episode. And yeah, no, it's solid. It's got, that moment at the end's pretty good. There's a few great character moments in the middle. Some of it's annoying. The entire play, I get what they're going for, and that is technically an important bit of world building, but it's super annoying. I like how they're doing Eclipsa. They're handling that exactly how I want they to. And yes, I am biased on that front, but hey, it's better than making her an evil villain again. What are they gonna do with Glubgore? Ooh, only time will tell. The next episode is Escape from the Pie Folk. It's also a mostly solid episode. I do think it's lesser than the previous one, but it still has its moments. It starts off with them heading to Pie Island. Richard's River is being weird about this, because again, he doesn't trust the Pie Folk. Everyone is thieves. Everyone's out to scam you. Marco's an idiot who buys a monkey for some stupid reason, and then the monkey steals his wallet. I love that it's still the unbreakable wallet, where it's like impossible for like people to crack open, and then Janet cracks it open in the next episode. Ah, God, good times. You know, the other idea I had was, what if Moon was on Earth? There's no basis in reality for it, but it would have been interesting nevertheless. I know we got rid of Earth for a reason. Part of me still regrets it because it had good characters, but what you gonna do? Now, as they're going across Pie Island, my first thought was that this was going to be like a Wicker Man style thing, you know, where everyone's acting off and then they were going to sacrifice them to the sort of like pie god or however Wicker Man works. You know, the whole Not the Bees movie, for anyone who's curious. It's not worth your time. Or at least that's the remake. The original was different. But, so they think there's some sort, River thinks there's some sort of scheme going on. There's this little pie man, and who agrees to help them after some convincing, but then River reveals that he's pulling a scam, but then the little pie man's also pulling a scam by gallowing them and then selling them to make pies. But the little pie man isn't a little pie man, he's a chef. He's like this evil chef who, spoiler I guess, is, well, we'll talk about it in a minute, is revealed to be like the Pie King or something like that. And, you know, his design is really kind of weird, but it's also what I expect from this show. So I actually kind of like it. I think the Pie King's interesting enough. But then someone buys them for like a stupid number of pennies, and it turns out to be Fool Duke. Yeah! You know, this show has such a great supporting cast. Her and Rebariat only have minor appearances in this episode, but they do a great job. This show's supporting cast, even if there's some characters I regret them leaving behind, overall the new ones they brought in are still great. But she explains that, oh, everyone makes pies like that with the little butterfly on top, and it's not a butterfly, it's actually a moth. Okay, I can believe that. You know, it's how this universe has been constructed. Sure, it's getting them to admit defeat. And for a moment, it's like, okay, this is them admitting defeat. Maybe they aren't going to confront it. But then as they leave, they smell like the smoke from the volcano that's like cinnamony, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's Moon's pies. That I don't like the smoke. That's kind of lazy in my opinion. What I wish had happened is if she had pulled out the pie from earlier, and on her way back, she took a bite out of it and was like, that's her pie. Instead of recognizing a smell, she recognizes a taste. And then she shows it to River, and he recognizes it, and then maybe Volcano, then maybe they smell the smoke or something like that. But I feel like a taste would have been a lot stronger indicator than a smell. You get what I'm saying? But they go inside the volcano, and of course, Moon is there in this sort of like pie mines. That's, oh my god, they explain that the lava is actually tomato sauce later on, which is stupid, but okay. But yeah, Moon is there, and we know it's actually Moon this time because she's using her hand magic, which I haven't even mentioned Star's hand magic. That's neat. I like how they do the hand magic. There's some really, because it's some of her normal spells, but it's also some like newish spells, but they're all around her blasting hands and all that. I think it works really well. But Star has the idea to go in disguises, so they kidnap Moon and they go to make a break for it. But the monkey poisons Cloudy, which, ugh. And then they eventually get surrounded. Then the Pie King comes out and is like, nope. The what was it? The pie lady who fell from the sky? The sky pie lady? It was something stupid like that. comes in and is like, that's what the Pie King calls him, because this is where we find out he is the Pie King. But then he pulls out the Pie of Truth, which is basically, it's a pie that has the story of a girl who was left, but then was taken by the king and became Festivia. Which, weirdly enough, I can actually buy. I don't know if we're supposed to believe it or not, because that would make them pie folk, which I kind of, but technically being who you are comes from where you come from. So it is the sort of question of identity that is kind of answered, but also not really answered. It's one of the more interesting moments in the episode. But I do think with everything they have set up in this universe, especially how Moon bakes such good pies, I can actually buy that Festivia was pie folk. Are they still pie folk? Yeah, that's the identity thing. Star says no, Moon doesn't know, and Moon goes back to baking pies because that's all she can remember. It's interesting. I like the Pie of Truth thing. But then Star admits defeat, that she's gonna leave, but then they sing the pie song and everything's great again. Moon may not remember everything, but she definitely remembers the song. Again, this is kind of like the beach day moment from the previous episode. I don't think it's as strong as the beach day moment, but it's still fine. It's that connection that, again, I swear has been set up in a previous episode. I swear we've heard the song before. Maybe I'm just going crazy. But then Moon decides to leave. The Pie King says she has a choice. And yeah, well, even though he doesn't want her to leave because the pies are successful, she still leaves. I didn't mention this earlier, but I like how the, is it ribbon? The thing on the back of her apron makes a butterfly shape. That's a nice detail. Moon's whole pie design here is really nice. The moon pie, it all works really well. But then they go to run away, but of course the Pie King trying to stop them. Fool Duke commits treason. Again, she's great. And they're finally able to escape with the help of the monkey, because, yeah, and Fool Duke, and bury it. The monkey almost kills Marco again, but Tomato Sauce River, again, stupid. And then, even though Moon doesn't know what's going on, she says this is the right thing to do and that it's going to be okay. And that's where the episode ends. Yeah, it ends on a hopeful note. I'm curious to see what we're going to do from here. I have no idea how long this season's going to be. I think this is a good place to start the season. It's good that they don't focus on Moon they get her. I mean, we're going to, of course, see more of her interacting with Eclipsa in future episodes. But it's good that we're not going to, finding her is just kind of like, oh, this is the start. We're going to do more interesting things from here. But yeah, I think both of these are fine episodes. They're not as strong as a start to a season as, say, the start of the last season one was, which I still call out on. I still have problem with that, but story for another day. But I think these are fine episodes. I wonder if you could have done each of these episodes in 11 minutes though. That's just me thinking out loud. They're good. They're fine. It could have been far worse. I'm not overly excited to see where we'll go from here, but I mean, luckily I'm already invested because we're 4 seasons in. And yeah, I am curious of how we're going to do the final season. Again, don't make Eclipsa and Glubgor the villains. Be more interesting than that. Or if you do make Glubgor the villain, redeem him by the end. It's not too much to ask for. Come on now, show. I know you. I believe you can do better than this. But I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.